Michelle, it's January 25th. Is it 2024 yet?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be February 1st before it feels like it to me.
Yeah, I can't believe we're already a month into the new
know.
year, but we've had a great month here at Mile High Church.
We have.
Lots of great people signed up in our classes, people engaged online. We've got a great event with Coot Blackson coming up in April. So we're a happening place.
We're cooking along, just doing our thing.
How's your class going?
Oh, I love my class. I've never taught this class before.
Power of your decisions.
Powering your decisions, yes.
Okay.
And it's about using spiritual principle to really focus on how you make decisions. And it's very interesting because he starts out right away talking about intelligent decisions versus unintelligent decisions, which can really push your buttons if you feel like you're stupid or you've done stupid things. But he's just really talking about using the intelligence of the universe and tapping into it to make the best decisions and to keep yourself from failing or from doing things that don't really serve you. So that's where we started.
Yes, for sometimes unconsciously practicing being an idiot. I love this idea that there's a divine intelligence in me that can help make up for that. Or as the great Mark Twain said, it is better to let people think you're dumb than to speak and remove all doubt.
Exactly. And I think for today's topic that we want to talk about, this concept of tapping into a greater intelligence is really valid.
It is, although I know you responded quite quickly to my comment about thinking I'm dumb with exactly. Did you notice that, listener?
I know. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, and so
we all are to a large extent.
One of the things I'm noticing, Michelle, at church or even the Beyond Limits class, and it's always cool teaching that basics class, as you know. Sometimes it's a lot of experts. It's people who have taken the class many times before. This time, we've got 90 or so, and a lot of them are new to spirituality, new to the church, and because I think intuitively they know, 2024 is going to be an interesting year. And I think a lot of people are thinking back to 2020. We had this huge election. More people in America voted than ever before. And a lot of people had a lot of anxiety around Trump. I mean, some people had it around Biden and still do. But with all the combativeness, all the potential misinformation, they're revving up for another election year, and you're remembering the pandemic and trying to deal with all of that and everything shutting down, remembering George Floyd and the opening up about confronting racism in new and profound and in a forceful kind of way. There are some big things that were going on, the remnants of are still here, and I think people looking at the probability of a Biden-Trump election makes them think, oh, we've got to step into all of this again in a big way. I don't know if you've noticed that in what you're seeing in people's energy so far this year.
I have noticed that, and I also feel like for me, some of it even goes back to the 2016 election, where I love the Republican Party and thought we've had some great Republican presidents over the years, and I was really surprised when Trump was even a candidate, and I had my ups and downs about Hillary, but all it seemed like everybody was predicting that Trump would never win. Even a lot of the Republicans were predicting. And so when we woke up that morning and he'd won the election, I think there was a collective kind of, okay, what does this mean now? And so I know that I was really surprised that day that he actually won, and thought, okay, I don't know what's going to happen now. We're just going to have to wait and see. And I think there's some people who are kind of bracing for that possibility in this next election too.
Yeah, and I think that's a great thing to mention, 2016, because the other element of that, because of the Access Hollywood tape and some other things, there was a I think a collective feminine wound that was opened up with that. Whether you want to blame him or not for that, that wound of men talking about women behind their back with one another in gross ways, was kind of opened up. And, if you forgave him for that, listener, that's fine, whatever that may be. But especially for liberal females that I know, it wasn't just the fact that their candidate, the potential first woman president, lost, but there was also this sense of this wound was opened up, and the person who helped inspire that won. And so I think there was some shock in that a lot of those folks still carry. And I always tried to stay as present as possible to the Trump presidency. I tried to take more the position that, and again, I'm sure he can be a very good person. I always look at who the cabinet is that's running the government, all of that kind of stuff. And as opposed to looking at him as a great danger, I was more, looking at him as someone who would be embarrassing from time to time, or, just different style. And I do think that, my liberal friends sometimes underestimate how much people vote for Trump because they don't like liberalism. They don't like some of what they see. And so he's kind of a protest vote. And then I do think, after the 2020 election, so very close, and, to honor Mr. Trump, he's received more votes in 2016 and 2020 more than any other candidate ever has in our history. And so that he deserves to be celebrated for earning that. And yet his behavior after the election was very concerning for me, because I believe so strongly in our democratic processes, and protest the vote as much as you want legally, but some of this other stuff for me was unbecoming of someone in that office. And so, I changed my mind a little bit about that. And yet, what I know and what I shared with our congregants the first Sunday of the year, I think it's been the American pastime since our country began to demonize our politicians and to criticize them. That's our right. And so I would support anyone's right to criticize Biden, to criticize Trump. And yet at the same time, when we get into demonizing people who choose to vote for those candidates, that to me is the opposite of the American way, because it undercuts the democratic process. And so, my message to, people who, aren't supporting Biden, try to understand from people who do support him why they're supporting him. And before demonizing folks who are voting for Trump, try to sit down and understand. And it's not like you're going to change your mind, but maybe you can understand a little bit better and, be a better citizen for that very reason.
Yeah, I think that's the crux of what we're going to have to practice this whole year through this whole process. The whole political system is just so interesting to watch and see it unfold, and feel the intuition as you watch any of these candidates get up. And I know for me, I often feel they're not telling the truth all across all the parties. It's like, oh, that person, I can just feel it. They're not being honest right now. And that's one of my buttons that will cause me to break away from any candidate in any party. You lie to me, we're done. And so that's really, I think, a dance that we're all going to have. And I loved how you put it, that we're going to have to be willing to really breathe and really listen to each other, and really, if we're at all upset about anything we see going on that seems to put the democratic beautiful process that America has in danger, let's not be part of that by just falling into boxes and not being willing to, like you say, see the other side, to at least look at why somebody might be doing what they're doing or what might be interesting to them. And that's the thing that bothers me the most, whether it's in politics or any other realm, when someone is fundamental about their beliefs, so much so that they won't even acknowledge there could be another way to look at something, because there always is. Yeah. There always is.
Well, I love how you say that. And even philosophically, Donald Trump comes somewhat from the tradition of Norman Vincent Peale. His father went to his church, and Norman Vincent Peale was a Christian who embraced a lot of New Thought principles, the power of positive thinking. And, part of that is, you state something that you want to be so, whether it is or not in reality, and work towards it. And so, I love what you're sharing too, because in our own philosophy, I do think that there is a difference between open at the top, keeping an open mind, always being willing to grow and to learn, and this statement that perception is reality. And I think that's something that a lot of our folks struggle with too. What is the truth now, if it can be whatever anyone says it is? And, I think of, our founder, Ernest Holmes, and he has this great quote that goes something like, the earth was round for thousands of years, and just because everyone thought it was flat, it didn't flatten
No.
the round world. In the same way, I think truth is about learning to navigate, Holmes says, the round world, and to use it to better ourselves. And I sometimes keep that in mind when I'm watching, the different news stations and the things like that. That yes, we're getting a view, but is it the flat Earth view or is it the round view, which includes a lot of different perspectives? And so, yes, perception is the reality from the viewpoint that you're looking at it from. But I think that's our challenge as spiritual folks, is to see that there can be multiple levels of how you look at reality.
Right.
And you need to bring together the conservative view and the liberal view in order to have a whole perspective. And so it's not about separating from the other or damning the other. It's about bringing those together. And so, I often encourage our congregants, and maybe it is because I'm more centrist, so I admit that, but let go of the fringes and get back to center. Center yourself, and then be the great conservative or the great liberal that you are.
Yeah, and I think number one, we're probably going to get a bunch of letters from the flat earthers now with your comments, so that'll be okay.
I think
send them to Josh Reeves.
No, his email's still active. BEbert@milehighchurch.org.
And I also think that what you're saying is very powerful and profound for standing in the center. And often I look back at things that I didn't like, that any president did or that happened in life. And I was speaking this past Sunday in Arizona about Ernest Holmes' assertion that it's all going to work out. No matter what, it's all going to work out. And I think he means this life, the next life, whatever it might be. But that belief in looking, I'm also a centrist and can see both sides often, which is a blessing and a curse. And I look and say, well, I didn't really like when that happened with that president, or I didn't like that policy, or I didn't agree with that. And that's true for every president, every leader in every party. I have had things I've thought, wow, that's great, and things I've thought, that's really stupid. But I survived. We survived. And that if we stick together, we can thrive. If we tear each other down, if we vilify each other, if we fall into these traps of the fringe, we will not be as strong as we can be if we stand our ground and we do our research and we do what we feel in our hearts is best in terms of our voting and casting our votes and lending our voice and trusting the journey together, trusting the process, and then whatever happens, we still stick together, even if we don't get what we want, and trust that the way can be made for us. We'll be stronger. But if we keep vilifying each other and keep pushing people to the edges and then axing people out who don't believe what we believe, we're practicing the highest form of separation that we won't be happy. We won't be fulfilled. So it's important.
A house divided against itself can't stand, that Lincoln guy said, whoever he was. Always so important. And, I also think of Margaret Thatcher, and she made a joke one time that those who stand in the middle of the road get run over, and so there is that wisdom too, which says it's yes, see all sides, and step into your point of view and have it with clarity. Just be willing to be wrong.
Right.
That's part of the risk of that. And I think we want to encourage people to, that you can take a side without damning the other side. And this because you saw the email too. We got an email this week from someone who really wanted us to step out on the side of Gaza and Palestine in this conflict that's going on, this terrible, terrible conflict that's going on there. And I really appreciated this person's heart. Yeah. And it used terms like, please stand up and say something about the genocide that Israel is imputing upon the people of Gaza and the indigenous people of Palestine. And I totally heard where this person is coming from and support her wholeheartedly, but needed to share with this person that, one, not everyone sees it as genocide. Exactly. We see people in Israel that were attacked, and now we're greatly concerned about war crimes. We're greatly concerned about the tens of thousands of people that it sounds like have died there, and encourage our congregants to do that. And yet, I don't think we can stand on the side of Palestine without standing on the side of Israel or vice versa.
Yep.
And that's a hard place to stand. It doesn't mean don't go out and protest what you see taking place in Gaza. It simply means that Science of Mind means that we stand for wholeness. And in America, that means that we stand for a strong Democrat liberal side of things, whether it shows up as Democrat or not, and same with that conservative side. That's what made our country great, is these folks figured out how to work together. And I think we underestimate how well they do work together, if not always in the halls of Congress, then in everyday life. And so we can figure it out. And I am very optimistic for our country. And since 9/11, that shocked all of us that, hey, we are not as invincible as we think we are. And I think we've been dealing with the consequences of that ever since. But I think part of the beauty of being in this movement is that, we get to stand up with hope and courage to be a presence even in the midst of our own anxieties. And that's what I would say to folks too. If you're not a little anxious, I'm worried about you, but we can move through it together.
We can. Yeah. Let's stand together.
All right. Nice talking with you, Michelle.
You too. I hope this serves
Happy
people.
New Year on February 1st.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. I'm going to go have a party. I do think, if I can say that, I think that our upcoming speaker, Coop Blackson, will really help people with this, with his Magic of Surrender theme.
Yes, and it's only to give you an hour and a half break. From
yes, for sure. Yeah, come be with us.